Making selections of hair can be very challenging, but if you do masking properly and you also use refine mask edge together, you will be much faster and it will be much easier for you. So let me show you how it works. It's a simple example where I would like to get rid of this green background and I want to turn it white. It can be anything really in the background. The reason why I chose this image is because here it's not only difficult to make a selection, but also we will have to get rid of a color cast on the edges of the hair. So first of all, I would like to have a selection of this green background. For that, the easiest is to use the color range option from the select menu. So I just click on color range. And then I'm going to click here on the background, the green background. If you see this preview a little bit differently, you can always make changes here at the bottom of the color range panel. I prefer to use selection and selection preview set to black matte. But it's up to you whichever you prefer. You can see the image here or the selection, and then here in the selection preview you can see none, or you can see a grayscale representation or black matte. This is what I prefer to use. And if you want to extend the reach of color range, you can hold down shift and click on the background, on those parts of the background which you want to make sure are also in the selection. So something like this is perfect. I can play around with the fuzziness. Probably I will keep it relatively high in this case. And if I want to see it a bit closer, I can see what happens if I reduce fuzziness and if I increase fuzziness. So I see a little bit more details here closer to the head. But I will also see a couple of details which I don't want to see. By increasing fuzziness, I'm actually increasing the tolerance of my selection. And because there are a couple of reflected green lights on the eyes and on the teeth and even on the earring, we will have to get rid of these later. But first of all, we need to click on OK. Because around the edges, my selection is great, I just need to concentrate on those couple of parts where I will have a little bit of a problem. So now that I have my selection, I can mask these out. Okay, so we can go to the options here in the layers panel, and I can click on create a mask. Just like before, because we had the background selected, now the mask is actually showing the background, which we wanted to get rid of in the first place. So I just need to invert it in the properties panel or masks panel in previous versions. And as you can see, now we see through some details. Especially here on the face, it's visible. We see through this transparent background because of the very high fuzziness option. If I alt click on the mask, you can see why. Even in the mask, we see these details, and wherever we see darker details, we will see through this image. Now, this is not really what I wanted to do. So the best is to go back a couple of steps, and before we do the mask, just let's do this color range again. So we went a bit too far. I'm going to choose select color range again, and I am going to reduce the fuzziness. So let me just zoom out a little bit, and I have the background selected properly. And I am going to reduce the fuzziness to something like this. It's still good on around the edges, but inside there will be nothing selected. So if I click on OK now, and then I click on mask, and invert mask in the properties panel, now it looks so much better. Even here around the neck, it works perfectly, and on the eyes. I just wanted to check. Now if I create a new layer, I'm going to create a new layer and fill it with white. Command backspace, which the keyboard shortcut I use, or control backspace on PC, because white is my background color. So with this background, I can see that it looks quite good, but still I see some of that green color around the edges. So how can I get rid of that? For that, I am going to use a very clever option, and that is available once the mask is selected. Under the properties panel, we have the mask edge option. So refine mask edge. If I click on that, we will get this dialog box, and we can zoom a little bit closer as well. And in this dialog box, we can choose what kind of color we want to see the image on. So white or on black or on layers. I am going to use on white. So on white is fine for me. And then I click on Smart Radius and increase the radius. This will make already a better selection of the hair. So let's just see before and after. It makes the whole selection a bit softer, especially here you can see the change. So let's see again before and after. You can press P in this dialog box to see the before and after. We can check if we increase this amount even further up, then it looks even more realistic. Okay, so that looks quite good. But what we also need is the decontaminate color option. So let me just turn that on and increase the amount up, and you can see it immediately made the edges look more black than green. So let me just see before and after. So with these two options together, we managed to make a so much better selection or background replacement. But if we want to go even further, we can use the Refine Radius tool, and with that I can draw over the edges just to make sure that all greenness is lost from these parts. So if I draw over them, then Photoshop will make sure that there is nothing left over here. So probably that's enough. And if I zoom out, you can see we have a perfect selection. So now if I click on OK, and if I want to see the original version, I just need to turn on this and turn off the mask. As you can see, we completely managed to get rid of that green background. So making selections of hair is not that difficult, because now we have a perfect selection around the hair here, and if you want to see it, you can even see it in the mask. So that's what we have in the mask, a really nice selection. Of course, if your background is not just one color, in this case it was just green, then it will be more complicated to do the same thing, but still this technique can be used if you have easier backgrounds.